Hello and welcome. I'm Tracey-Jane Hughes from Manage Those Things and the Business Cheerleading Club. And I'm delighted to be with Thoranna today, who I've met in a group that I'm in. And I went off and looked at her book and I thought, wow, fantastic. I would love to get Thoranna into the Business Cheerleading Club and share some tips for business about marketing. So, Thoranna, just give us a bit of a background as to who you are and what you do.
As you say, you mentioned marketing. That's what I do all day, every day. I've been in marketing since, I started actually in the UK because I studied in the UK. So I started my marketing life at Publicis in London. But for the past 7 years, I've been working as a consultant, and I've done a lot of work with small business and entrepreneurs. And sort of from that developed an online training program. And from that, I've now written a book series, which is, you sort of get the same things coming up for this group of business owners, I just figured it would be useful to get it all down in book format so that it could be made accessible. So that's sort of the gist of me, I suppose.
Fantastic, and I've got your book about target audiences, and that's one of the things that I find is we all say as business consultants, and I help small businesses and have done for many years now, and a lot of that first conversation is, well, who is your target audience? And some people are really, really clear on that, and others aren't. So how, what do you say? What are your, first steps for understanding what that target audience actually means? Because I think some people are confused by that, Thoranna.
Yeah, and it's easy to be confused by that because also it can develop and change. But as you said, some people are very, very clear because that might be the reason they went into business, to serve as a particular audience. Yeah. So, you'll find that. Others not so clear because they've sort of developed a product or a service and then they want to find the right people for it. If you're just starting out, it's a question of a little bit of research and a little bit of guesswork. It's always going to be like that. For those that have been in business for a while, however, they've got a slight advantage. The clue there, and I always just go to them, who are your favorite customers? Who are your best customers? The ones that you love doing business with, the ones that don't haggle over prices and etc. Those will be the people you should be going for. And in the book, I go through, I believe there are 8 sort of points of what identifies ideal customers. And once you find the people that sort of tick those boxes, it's a question of figuring out what they have in common and what it is about them that is so great. And that means you can then say, oh, okay, now I know what this group is, so I'm going to go find more people like that. But if you're just starting out, it's a little trickier. But the good thing is, though, I think everybody who's been in business for a while knows the feeling that it develops. You don't start out and just say, this is it, and then that will always be it. You're always learning and developing and fine-tuning it. But the key to that is also you'll develop much faster and in a much more focused way if you're aware and if you're sort of reviewing it and monitoring it regularly, rather than if you're just sort of leaving it up to lady luck.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, I was just typing another comment that you just made. Regularly. So yeah, I think a lot of businesses don't do that review bit, and if they haven't started from a clear understanding, if they're then not reviewing and monitoring, then it all goes a bit like, oh
yeah.
So let's take the 2 different business types in turn then. So for a startup business, you mentioned about it's a bit of research and a bit of gut feel.
Yeah,
so how can a small business do that research that is important? It is really important, but what sort of things do you talk to your clients about in terms of research?
Yeah, because when I say research, you tend to get sort of deer in the headlight thing, and people, those that have been to uni and stuff get flashback to methodology classes, and just many of them cringe.
Yeah.
What I do stress to them is that, you're not in academia. Nobody's grading you. Obviously, the better the research is done, the better it is done, and the better it is the result. But I'd rather you do a bit of research, and get clues than do nothing. The simplest way is just to get out there and talk to people. And I think we often don't do that. I mean, in product development, we often don't do that. We just sort of fall in love with the idea of a product or a service that we make, and we just go ahead and we are creating. We can easily fall into the trap of creating because we are creating. It's like our thing. But go out there, get feedback while you're developing the product or service, and then get feedback. Go talk to people who thinks it's for them, who's going no, and get clear on it that way. That's a big thing. I'd really recommend things like books like Will It Fly by Pat Flynn, and books like Ask by Ryan Levesque, and there are a few sort of Lean Startup by Eric Ries, and anything on design thinking, really. I think is always useful, and that can help you in that stage. And then you can go into, once you get clues from that, you could go into doing like an online survey and things like that can sort of give you a bigger scope. So to be honest, the market research bit could be a book in itself, but it's not really, didn't want to go there. But like I said, a little bit is better than nothing. So if it freaks you out, still do go out and talk to people.
Yeah, and I think some people, have really supportive family and friends around them. So sometimes, they only talk to their supportive people, and their supportive people are fantastic for support, but aren't necessarily giving the devil's advocate side. Well, what about that bit? And who's going to buy it? And yes, I think you're fantastic as a person, and I think it's great that you're starting out in business, but who's going to buy it, and where do they live? And if you're working within a very local market, who else is out there? So part of the market research that I often talk about with my clients is who are your competitors? So if you're setting up doing health classes, yoga, Pilates, that sort of, or you're doing fitness things, who else is out there? What are you doing differently to them? And there's a marketplace for everybody. We know that. Yeah. But what you do and what your specialism is in the marketing side is understanding the target market, and then understanding how you're different.
Absolutely.
So that you can. So fundamental. Is that sort of pulling it together for those sort of startup groups?
Oh, absolutely. And go out, like you were saying, go outside your circle. Talk to people that don't know you. And even better, I tend to say to people, if you have the chance of getting someone, it's often for people in small businesses, it's often a question of a budget. But if you get the chance of getting someone else to do the research for you, even if it's just a friend who knows how to do research, and would do it for you, that is great, because particularly in those face-to-face contact, even people that don't know you, will sort of not want to say the negative things, and you need to get the negative things out there.
Yeah,
Absolutely. What are the sales points? What's really going to sell these things? And at the end of the day, it's just so important to remember, even, however cruel it is to say, people really don't care about your product or service. They don't, at all. They just want to know what it does for them. What's in it for them? Because we don't buy something out of the goodness of our hearts and because we're helping them out. It needs to do something for us, and we need to find out what that is, because that's going to be your strongest sales point.
Yeah. So how sometimes business owners will create a brand new product or service that is not currently in the marketplace, and it's something that has worked for them, or it's something that they haven't found either locally to them. They know it's worked for them. During this research and finding their target audience section or part, what are the types of questions they can use to ask other people if this would work for you, or how do you see this product or service working for you? Are there some specific questions that
I don't want to go for like complete specifics, particularly in that qualitative state when you're just talking to people and you haven't gone to surveys and stuff. That sort of, we want to be more qualitative. Keep it open.
Okay.
Keep the questions open, because you don't want to lead them. You don't want to, affect them in any way. So you really want them to just get it all out there. One of the questions I think we forget to, or there's a couple I can think of right at the moment, we tend to forget to ask, is how are you solving this at the moment?
Okay. Yeah.
That will uncover sometimes your competitors, but also other things, because we often think that, oh, well, there's nobody doing this in the market. Well, okay, maybe it's because people have a way of solving it that works for them without going out and buying something. And you need to understand how much of an obstacle is between going from what they're already doing to what you're doing. Because that's going to be the things that the objections they have. And then ask them, why wouldn't you buy it?
Yeah.
Because we tend to go, would you buy this? Why would you buy this? And we're in love with our product. And so we kind of have a tendency to sway that way, but go, tell me what's wrong with it. Why would you not buy it? And again, if it's somebody other than the creator of the product or service that asks these questions, people are more likely to be open.
Yes. No, that's really helpful. Really helpful. So, I mean, obviously, all of that is useful for people that have been in business for a while. But and I think sometimes people who've been in business for a while are creating new products and new services and growing their business. But they're also responding during their business growth. And I know from one of my businesses, my first business, which was maternity and nursing bras, selling maternity and nursing bras, and it was a home fitting service. And when I was going into women's homes, they were saying to me, "Can you help my mum or my aunt, or can you, my friend has just had a mastectomy, can you help them?" So there was a new market that was being shown to me by my existing customers. Now, whether you as a business owner choose to then go down that route, even though there's a new audience there, that is still down to you. But not everybody is as fortunate with that ease of growing into new markets.
Yeah.
So how do you help businesses that are sort of have been in business to review their target market? Because again, sometimes we get complacent, I think, in business, and we think that, you know, there will be a stream of new customers coming in, or our existing customers will continue to use our product or service, and we just sometimes get lazy, I think. So how do you help, you know, people do that review process?
Yeah, I mean, and it's a natural thing. Inertia, you know, not doing anything new is a lot easier than keep going, and you know.
Yes, it is.
It totally
Let's do nothing today.
It's easier. So, you know, while everything is just, you know, going on and muddling along, then why should I bother? It's very easy and very human, and we all do it. You need to keep the conversation always going, and you need to have tools for that. So it's both about doing that review regularly, but the thing is, as soon as we forget that we need to keep a dialogue going all the time, that's when things start to go downhill. Because at the end of the day, marketing, you know, you can learn how to use Facebook ads, and you can do a fabulous branding and have a brand strategy of wanting to be known for this, and you can have a beautiful brand identity and all that. But at the end of the day, marketing is about knowing your customer, knowing their needs, and meeting those needs that are in a profitable, you know, in a way that's profitable for you. So as soon as you lose that focus of that relationship back and forth and listening, then that's a slippery slope. You know, that's when you're in trouble. So you constantly need to be, so have avenues. If you're in a very small business, you get the customer into your shop or whatever, it's fairly easy. It's a personal thing of just keeping your ears open. As you grow, and for example, in online businesses where you don't meet the customers, you need to have things in place. You need to have processes in place, and you need to encourage people to communicate with you. Now, I think we all know the examples of sort of going onto a website, going into the whole, you know, contact us thing or something, and there's a form, and you put in your name and details, and then you just have a feeling that that message just vanished into a black hole.
Yeah.
And when we're running a small business and we're wearing every single hat in the business, it's easy to forget that, oh, you know, emails and messages, but we need to make sure that we nurture that and we communicate on that way. Social media, obviously, huge channel for that today. So don't just broadcast, be responsive. There should be, depending on the size of your business and the volume of things, you should always allocate 10, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, to just check if there's something coming in. You don't want to miss it.
Okay. So in terms of, I've just asked if any of our viewers have got questions. Hi, Jane. Hi, Sasha. So if you've got any questions, please just put them in the comments box, and we'll ask them to Thoranna. So in terms of, I've lost my train of thought now. Yeah, it's gone. It obviously wasn't important. It obviously wasn't important. So in terms of how we keep reviewing our target audience, and it might be because sometimes people say, well, my product or service will it's for anybody. Hi, Jane. And we as their supporters ask them to chunk that down, and everybody isn't your target audience. Yes, everybody might use or benefit from your product or service, but who is it you are focusing on? Because you cannot share your message to all of those people. And it then comes out that actually we've got maybe 3 or 4 different target audiences. So how do we keep that fresh and know that those are continuing to be our core target audiences? And do you, I'm making this a multiple question now, that's bad of me, but we're running out of time, so I'm just trying to fit it all in now. How many target audiences do you recommend your clients to have focused on at any one time? There you go.
It always depends on the size of the business and the resources that you have. But if you're, let's say your typical small business with maybe 5 people on staff, or, you know, and I probably shouldn't be generalizing like that, but I tend to tell my clients not to go for any more than 3. And if the 3 are really different, if there are no synergies between them, then I'd whittle it down even more. But then it also depends on what market you're in and how big is that audience within that market. So there's no sort of hard and fast rule. It always has to be evaluated, but fewer rather than more. Because the thing is as well, if you say you focus just on one, just go for the one, know that one really well, serve that one really well, which will not only have a halo effect outside that audience, and it'll pull in people that aren't strictly completely in that audience. But the other thing is that you might have identified, say you identified 5 that you could go into. You pick the one that you think is the one, and you will start to see which one of those other groups is the one you should be going for next. You know, it's a bit like divide and conquer. When Facebook started, they didn't just start with the whole world. They started with one university, and then they moved on to another university. Now, I haven't studied this, but I have a feeling that they didn't go for go from the elite universities to go into the boobity-boo college of blah, blah. You know, that was a really good example.
I love that.
But it's likely to have been a very, I don't know exactly the order they went in, but it's likely to have been another university that was similar. So take your clues from the market, and if in doubt, just start with the one, and you will start to see which one is going to be the one for you next. If you just, it's a question of keeping your eyes and ears open, keeping your fingers on the pulse, keeping the conversation going. Always keeping the conversation going.
Yeah. Okay. So we are coming to the end of our, and I think I could speak to you all day, Thoranna.
Yeah, I think we could go on for a few hours. Well, we'll just have to do this again sometime.
Well, we will. So if I have just put your a link to your book series on in the comments, but it's it's a lot of gobbledygook. But I'll put it back together. Right, we've got a question from Jane. I will put it up, and I will read it out as well. So my challenge is for bespoke work, handmade pottery gifts, customer orders when in the studio painting. So a customer orders when they're in the studio painting, and some live overseas, mainly in the USA, but obviously in the UK too. Those who never come to paint but live roughly locally, but will only ever order gifts. How to look after them? You've maybe just answered my question. Okay. Okay. So Jane has 2 businesses. She has a pottery painting studio where people come in and paint their own gifts. But Jane is also is such a talented artist that she will also create and either create something from scratch from clay, but will also paint something on ceramics for somebody. So she does have different markets. Yeah. And Jane's challenge, I think, is about how does she generate more created for you customers. But she has she has an online website, but she also has customers that are coming into her shop to paint, but will also ask for commissions to be done.
Yeah. The question is who's the best one? Who's the one that buys the most, that buys the products that give you the best margin? Who are the ones that come again and again? Who are the ones that also is fairly easy to reach marketing wise? So like some of them, let's say some of them, because we're talking small businesses here. Let's say that some of them are never online. They probably wouldn't be your best customers because it might be fairly expensive and difficult to reach them, because you want to find ways to marketing channels where you can stay in pretty constant contact and keep top of mind. So there are, like I said, in the book, there are sort of 8 points on what you should be looking for, and seeing, which ones of the people that come into your studio and which ones of the people that buy your ready-made, your handmade products that you make for them fit that criteria. And that then you should be able to see the little identifiers of those people, what's similar with those people. That will give you a clue to your strongest audience. Your target market.
Does that help, Jane? I'm just going to show. So this is my phone with my Kindle app, and Target Groups Untangled, which I love, is the book that I've downloaded, that I'm starting on. Oops, other way. So, and I'll make sure the link is down below. But the link, people can also access things from your website, which I'll put the link down below as well.
The paperback is coming. So.
Excellent.
Actually, Jane's got a good point here. Best ones are those who don't come to paint and tend to find me online. Website, Etsy, Facebook. Yep. So that's how can you generate more traffic from there, and and very important, once you get them, and now I don't know where you are with your marketing, so you might be going, I know this, so you'll just forgive me if that's the case. But once you get them into your website from Etsy, from Facebook, make sure that you have an email list and that you're emailing your audience regularly, because that's your regular contact. But also make sure that you have Google Analytics set up on your website, so that you can then retarget through Google AdWords, and which is probably, in many cases, for many people, obviously this varies, but for many, the strongest thing, make sure you have your Facebook pixel set up on your website, so that you can retarget the ones that have come, because it's a question of, once you've got them in, you want to find a method that makes it easy for you to regularly just be reminding them that you're there, making sure they don't forget about you, that they see you at that moment when they're thinking, oh, I need something for, my friend for her birthday, or.
Yeah. Brilliant. So, I've spelled that wrong, but anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do within the Business Cheerleading Club is support some people to do these things, and that sometimes people come in and go, what is a Facebook pixel? And we'll tell them, and we'll help them, and we have all sorts of videos and tutorials to help people through that process. And I also have some other courses. So I have a Get Your Website Working For You course that covers all those things as well. So we can support people within the group with that, but obviously people can come direct to you, and you can help them with that as well. So Thoranna,
sounds like you've got a great community there.
It's a wonderful community, and have I just done that right? Have I just spelled that right? Yes, I think so. Knowing how my spelling's going this morning.
We're talking so much, I'm not surprised.
I know. I just love the conversation. So, we've got another one from Jane. So I've got to do Facebook pixel to website, and I've just got emails onto a database to upload to do the emails. So getting there. Good to know. Thanks, Thoranna.
just one more tip, because with Jane's new email, make sure that you know about the GDPR regulation coming into play at the end of May, because if you're not handling your data correctly after that, there could be trouble. So
we've got a whole section on GDPR, and I know I had a conversation with Jane yesterday, and GDPR is on your list, Jane. I know.
Good.
But it's so important, and if people need help with GDPR, then just come to the ask. I think there's something further down the Facebook page for help with GDPR. But if you're confused, I did an interview with Annabelle Kay about GDPR probably a month, 6 months ago, and for me, she's very common sense.
There are some great resources online. I think in the UK, the Informations Act officer or something, I can't remember, have a really sort of, the official body actually have a really sort of jargon-free page about it, which was refreshing.
Yeah, I was quite pleased. I was quite pleased with that as well. But there is also an awful lot of not rubbish, but confusing. Confusing information out there. So, we've gone over time. Jane, have you got any more questions whilst we finish up? Thoranna, people can contact you directly at thoranna.is, and you have a wealth of information on your website, as well as your fantastic books. So we've got 2 books out at the moment, is that right?
Yeah, it's the original that came out 4 years ago, which was supposed to just be an ebook and ended up on Amazon. And then this is the first of 5. So the competition is next, then there's branding, then there's marketing communications, and then there's a small but very important one on marketing systems, the whole sort of project management of getting it all done when you're wearing all the hats.
Yes. And I think that's the challenge as well. It's, I've got to do research and I've got to review, and then I've actually got to spend time to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yes. So, Jane missed the first half, so she thinks that it's from me for now. So she'll look out for the books too. Okay. So I'll make sure the link is below and available to people on all the different channels that this interview will go on. So thank you so much, Thoranna. That has been so helpful. Loads of tips. And it shouldn't be confusing for people. It should just be part of their regular business process, business review. And if your audience changes, it changes. Is that what you say to people?
It does, Jane. And particularly, you start off thinking it'll be something, and you might even have done good research and still think it's going to be something. But then people say one thing and do another. So be open. Don't be rigid. Just, be open. Keep your eyes open. Finger on the pulse, and see where things are flowing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thoranna, marketing expert from thoranna.is, and I'm Tracey-Jane Hughes from the Business Cheerleading Club, and helping you to manage those things in your business. And until next time, thank you very much. So it's just finishing off now.
That was fun.